that you lay down and made with two different men and don't know who the father is, and you sitting up here talking about they not man enough to do this, then he not man enough to do this, when you not woman enough to know and have a baby and don't know which one's the daddy, you the one that's gonna be responsible till you figure out who's the daddy.
Mr. Baker doubts if he's Caleb's biological father because he had a vasectomy and shouldn't be able to give birth. However, his wife, Felice, sues him to a paternity court hoping that a DNA test would prove that he's Caleb's father. Not fazed by the lawsuit, he appears before Judge Lauren curious to find out if it is scientifically possible for him to father his spouse's infant. And here is how it began.
Ms. Baker, you say the fate of your marriage is riding on today's DNA results. You are suing to prove that your 3-month-old son, Caleb, was fathered by your husband, Mr. Baker.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Baker, you say it's medically impossible for you to have a child, and therefore Caleb cannot be yours. You say if the DNA results prove you are not the father, you will leave your wife and family.
Yes, Your Honor.
Although there's a tiny chance that men who went through vasectomy could father children, Mr. Baker believes his case is different. Getting pregnant was difficult for his wife as she blacked out most of the time as a result of her excessive drinking habit. According to her statements, she doesn't remember most of the things that happened during that period.
I was drinking quite a bit. I was drinking pretty much every day, and I was blacking out at night, and I wouldn't remember periods of time I wouldn't remember.
Whether you were intimate with another man or not.
Yes, Your Honor. It's not fair to Mr. Baker, and I love him with all my heart.
Mr. Baker, before this, was there a lack of trust in the relationship?
The curious man says when they started the relationship, they didn't do things the right way. It started as an extramarital affair. Although they were in love from the beginning, it was pointless as he didn't trust her completely.
Well, Your Honor, to be completely honest, when Felice and I had gotten together, the way that we got together was I had done some work in her home, and that's the way that we met. And we didn't do everything right. And I don't condone the actions that we took in our relationship. I was married, she was married. And whenever you have two people who are in a monogamous relationship.
Mrs. Baker had been on Oprah with her former husband, and her overspending habit was televised. For more spice, the judge remembers the episode and reminds her about the lies she told to hide the truth.
I mean, to the point where, that had put her in national limelight because she was overspending behind his back.
So you had instances in your previous marriage.
Yes, I do.
That you said were revealed on the national stage, the limelight.
Well, I know that she had went on a very public show.
Which show did you go on?
The Oprah Winfrey Show.
After she missed her menstrual period for 3.5 months, Felice thought she hit menopause. Eventually, she had a pregnancy test, and the result was positive. Her husband didn't believe the result, so they bought 2 expensive tests from a different store, but the results were still positive.
I noticed I was getting a little bit of a belly, and it had been 3.5 months since I had a period. Actually, I thought I was going through menopause, and I mentioned to Mr. Baker that I, hadn't had my menstrual cycle in 3 months, and he said, well, if you're pregnant, it's not for me. And so we went to the store and got a pregnancy test, and it at that time came out positive.
The judge asks Mr. Baker what his thoughts were after he discovered the pregnancy, and he responds saying he did some research on the internet. His research was on what could cause a false pregnancy test. According to his research, if she's not pregnant due to his vasectomy, she probably had a tumor or cancer in her belly.
When you found this out, Mr. Baker, what was your first thought?
I went on the internet. I Googled what can cause a false positive. And there's only 4 conditions that a false positive will show up on a pregnancy test. Obviously, number 1 is pregnancy. Number 2 is ovarian cancer. Number 3 is uterus cancer. Number 4 is any cancerous tumors in the uterus. I never slept that night.
Mr. Baker continues saying he couldn't sleep that night, but he went to work the following day. While at work, Felice called him and was crying over the phone hysterically because she thought she was dying of ovarian cancer. Confused and in need of clarity, the couple went to see a doctor who confirmed that she was pregnant, which made him doubtful.
Went to work the next day. She calls me up at 11 o'clock crying hysterically. And I said, honey, what's wrong? She says, I'm not pregnant. I said, what do you mean you're not pregnant? How do you know? She goes, I'm dying of ovarian cancer.
Because
I have every symptom. Because she went and researched.
Looked up the same thing.
Yes.
Yes, I looked up the same thing the following day and, read the cancer. So that's when I thought maybe I had.
Eventually, a specialist provided facts about vasectomy to the courtroom. According to the specialist, getting a vasectomy done son is a 50-50 chance, so it's advisable to check back twice at the hospital regularly.
We're checking a sperm count to make sure that there's still no sperm and to make sure that that tube did not grow back together.
And that was the follow-up that he missed.
Correct.
Where they would have checked to see if potentially it almost would have reconnected itself.
Reconnected, exactly. So when we look at this, it does not make it impossible for him to father a child. He should have about a 1.5% chance of fathering a child.
Does this mean Mr. Baker could actually be the baby's biological father? The only way to find out is through the DNA test result. Let's dig in.
Mr. Baker, you are the father.
Thank you. I love you too.
You know, this is a courtroom where very special things happen, right, bro? But this, I must say,
It's just been a very tough road, and we've had to rebuild walls that were broken down.
Miss Cole claims Mr. Daniel Cooper is the father of her child and not her ex, Mr. Jacobs. However, her ex is suing her to court to claim her son, Samar, as his. Miss Cole admits she allowed Mr. Jacobs to name the baby, sign the birth certificate, bond with the child, and pay his child support. Mr. Cooper, on the other hand, isn't on the same page with her.
paying child support for 3-year-old Samar, but say your ex is now telling people that you are not his biological father, and you're suing today to prove that Samar is your son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Call, you admit to allowing Mr. Jacobs to name the baby, sign the birth certificate, and pay support for your son, but now say Samar's real biological father is another man.
Mr. Jacobs claims he was receptive when she told him about the pregnancy, but she cuts in saying he denied the baby. Later on, she told him there's a possibility that the baby belonged to someone else, so they stopped talking.
I would say about a month or so, coming back home the first time, it was, my neighbor had told me that, a young lady had stopped by to look for you and everything like that. And the next day, she was actually sitting outside my apartment, and she was sitting with a friend, and, she was fat and everything. She was big. It was like, all right, I'm pretty shocked by it. I asked, would you like to go for a walk and everything like that? And that's when she had told me that she was pregnant and everything.
However, he was at the hospital when the baby was born, and he fell in love with him at first sight. Hence, that made him sign the birth certificate.
You went from not going to any doctor's appointments to signing the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
How did we get there?
I was there for the whole birth.
The whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
And you signed the birth certificate?
Correct.
Why did you sign the birth certificate? At that moment, were you sure you were this child's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
You were?
Yes.
And why were you sure?
I was sure about it because when she was in the C-section, they had brought Samar out to me.
Also, Mr. Jacobs' mother had called him while he was at the hospital, and she told him not to sign the birth certificate. However, he signed it anyway.
I had called my mother when I went to go pick up the car seat. I had told my mom that she had the baby and that she told me not to sign the birth certificate. And, like I said, I felt that it was mine at the moment, that time and moment, because of the connection that we had. So I did sign the birth certificate. I mean, I have the documents right here with me.
I'd like to see that, sir.
All right.
Jerome, will you hand them to me, please? So your mother said, do not sign this. She said, do not.
According to Miss Cole's statement, Mr. Cooper is her child's daddy, because to her, they look alike. She confirmed this claim when she saw his baby pictures.
He's not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you truly believe Mr. Cooper is the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why?
Your Honor, one of Mr. Cooper's family members showed me a picture of Mr. Cooper when he was 3-year-old. My son is 3-year-old now. They look just alike in them two pictures of Mr. Cooper when he was 3 and my son now that he's 3.
So you saw a picture?
Yes.
And when you saw that picture, you saw your son?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper appears before the judge saying he doesn't see any resemblance between him and Samar when the judge asks him about it. Although he caters for her and the baby when he can, he is not responsible for him.
Like you and your family member showed her a picture of when you was 3 years old, and it looks just like Samar. Have you seen this picture?
Yes, I got that picture.
Do you see the similarity?
No, ma'am, not at all. I don't think he big. I'm real skinny. He was big ever since he came out.
Your Honor, that's because my baby eats. That's why he's so big.
I don't know. When she first had him, he was a little big. I always been skinny. And then I just don't see it.
If Mr. Cooper isn't Samar's father, could Mr. Jacobs be his father? But if he's Mr. Jacobs' son, why is Miss Cole claiming otherwise? Is she punishing him for denying the pregnancy in the first place? It's hard to tell because she met both men on the train on different occasions. Perhaps there are other men in the same category as these two men in the courtroom. There's only one way to find out.
Mr. Cooper, you are not the father.
I knew it. I knew it.
Mr. Jacobs, you are not the father.
What the? Oh, hold up. Wait a minute. Calm down.
Whoa.
Review that. You say what?
Miss
Slow
Paul,
down.
you don't seem that surprised. I'm sat this bench long enough to know a real reaction.
Miss Ebony Parker appears before the judge suing Mr. Morton and his girlfriend, Miss Lemon. The lawsuit is for them denying the paternity of her child, Aaron, after having sex with both of them severally. She claims that the man's girlfriend turned him against her because she has been unable to get pregnant herself.
Miss Parker, in your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to the paternity test, you're suing for $2,047 in back child expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
During her testimony, Miss Lemon says she and her boyfriend had sex with his baby mama because Miss Parker was lonely. Also, she says her freakiness led her to making such a decision.
Well, the only reason, Your Honor, the only reason why she was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely. My desires, me and my little freakiness, I said, my boyfriend, can you have sex with your pregnant baby mother because she's in need?
Pause, Your Honor.
How would she know
Pause,
if
Your
she's
Honor.
not there?
Your Honor, that is not true. Before I even left to go anywhere, before I was gone for a while, we was having sex before then. She wanted to have sex with me.
It appears that Aaron was born when the pregnancy was 7 months old, and that made the calculations a bit confusing. However, the accuser is confident about her claims. After listening to their testimonies, Judge Lauren asks the defendant when he was with Miss Parker during the winter. His response is May 11th, which the accuser objected to.
I'm not tripping off of that. I know that that's my son's father. I know. He looks exactly like my other son.
And so you're doubtful, Mr. Morton, because you say there's a timing issue.
Yes, she
So I wanna
supposed to have got
understand your
pregnant
doubt.
in May, but from my understanding, that's only would be 7 months if she
I
had
never
my son
said I
in.
got pregnant in May, Your Honor.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my calendar so I can just understand what's going on exactly. When were you intimate?
In the heat of the moment, Miss Lemon says Miss Parker's boyfriend swears that he's Aaron's father, but the accuser had to continuously remind him that he's not, and that she had sex with him while she was already pregnant.
We down, yep, I'm clocking it.
You
Just
can't
like you
clock
clock
it though,
mine. I
baby.
can.
You can't.
We
You
downtown.
can't clock
The guy
it.
walks up to her, they talking and everything, and he swears up and down Aaron is his. She had to keep reminding him that it's not yours, boo, it's not yours. I had sex with you after he was already in my stomach.
Exactly, I
But
said.
you told
what did
us
I
that
just
you didn't have
say?
sex with nobody
I just
after
said
you
I
got
didn't
pregnant.
have unprotected sex. That's
She
a
all
lie,
over
'cause
the
I was
place,
meant
Your
to-
Honor. That's what
Your
it
Honor,
is.
that's a lie.
She was all over the place.
Is Mr. Morton actually Aaron's father, or is Miss Parker just forcing her son or him? At this point, that remains a mystery. Before her boyfriend went away, the accuser claimed she was pregnant with his child, but she had a miscarriage. A while after that, she had unprotected sex with her baby daddy.
Before my boyfriend went away, I was pregnant by him. That's what they're getting confused. I had a whole miscarriage, Your Honor. A whole
And she
miscarriage
had
by this
plenty of those
man.
now all of a sudden.
I had a-
So what you're saying is you were pregnant
Before,
but you
like this was before though. This is before I got pregnant
He was only
again.
locked up
You're right.
a
He
month or
wasn't even
something.
away when I was pregnant. He was with me.
So the bottom
when I
line
was
is
pregnant,
you were in
while we
fact
was together.
pregnant by your
By him,
boyfriend.
yes, I was.
But you
After she got pregnant, she told him it wasn't his because she had a sonogram saying she was 13 weeks pregnant. However, when she went for her first prenatal appointment, a fetal test confirmed that she was 8 weeks pregnant instead.
I told him I was pregnant, and I did. I'm not gonna lie. I told him this is not your baby, being as though I have a sonogram telling me I'm 13 weeks. So when I go to my first prenatal appointment, and they give me a fetal assessment, and they say, no, miss, you're 8 weeks pregnant. Your baby is due December the 24th.
So you went to your appointment and then your due date got adjusted.
Yes.
So initially, when you got pregnant, they gave you a certain due date.
Yes, ma'am.
And you said based upon that due date, this
Yeah,
is
he
not
was
your
not-
child.
When she showed him the pregnancy sonogram, he didn't believe her. In fairness, how could he? Although he didn't accompany her for the appointments, he was there when she gave birth to Aaron.
Be on the way, they miscalculated my due date, and now I really believe it's your child. What was your response?
I had my doubts because of what she had told me.
You
at
still
first.
had doubts. Did you participate? You have a child with her already. Did you
Yes.
participate in the birth? Were you there through the pregnancy?
I didn't
Were
go
you-
to none of the appointments. I ain't show up to none of the
I
doctor's
got a-
appointments,
I
but
have
I
a
was
picture.
there when
He's
she
talking about
had
the-
it.
He's talking about Aaron.
I have a picture of him holding my son when he first came out.
Jerome, may I see that, please?
The accuser filed a lawsuit against him for harboring feelings for her son, but not accepting his responsibilities over him. Perhaps she's right for filing a lawsuit against him for showing affection to the bae, but not taking full responsibility for his well-being.
This feeling that he steps up to the plate and takes care of other people's children,
Yeah,
but
so why
does
should
not properly take care of baby Aaron is the basis of your suit.
Right.
You're suing for $2,047 in child care expenses, things you've spent on baby Aaron since he's been born, and you say Mr. Morton's done nothing.
Besides $30 and she hand-me-down.
Miss Mary, the defendant's mother, appears before the judge to testify that he didn't do anything for the first child when he was born, so she doesn't want him to repeat the same ill act for Aaron. His mom genuinely believes that the newborn is his kid, and that's why she's appearing before the judge to testify.
Thank you so much for joining us. What's your name, ma'am, stated for the record?
Marie Dunlap.
Ms. Dunlap, you are?
I'm Mr. Morton's mother.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
You're Mr. Morton's mother?
Yes.
What do you have to add, ma'am?
Well, for the most part, as far as support system, when she first had baby Aaron, she did not have anything because we were supposed to try to get together a baby shower. So she did have him early. So as far as support system, it was me and my daughter, which is Eric's sister.
Is Mr. Morton's mother right about her testimony? Is he right about not his claims of not being Aaron's biological father? Let's find out together.
Mr. Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you, like, I'm not no. Come on. Thank you. I need that paper so I can go down child support tomorrow morning when I get up.
Ms. Parker, you came to court with a suit in the amount of $2,047. Mr. Morton is, in fact, baby Aaron's biological father, which means you are legally obligated to care for that child, and Ms. Parker is entitled.
Miss Martin appears before the court to confirm the father of her fifth child, Ramary. She claims the father of her other 4 kids, Mr. Blackman, maltreated Ramary. Hence, she wants to take her kids away from him, but asks the court to award a $3,100 6 months child support. Mr. Blackman, however, doesn't believe the 5th child is his because she had confessed about cheating on him.
Ms. Martin, you say that the father of your 4 kids treats your newborn baby like an evil stepchild.
Yes.
Because he doubts paternity.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're asking the court to award you $3,100 for the next 6 months of child care expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
The lady confesses that her feelings for Mr. Blackman went down the drain because she didn't feel loved and appreciated. Based on her statements, he has a habit of abusing her verbally and emotionally. However, the man defended himself, saying she doesn't play her motherly role for the other 4 kids properly.
I just never felt love appreciated. He always called me fat, you know, you lazy, you nasty, you don't do this, you don't do that. But how can I when I got a man saying all these things to me? Like, you expect to come home.
I can only say what I see. I can only say what I come home to.
Hold on now.
You expect to come home to a cooked meal and all of this.
Sometimes.
I never even got a back rub.
Miss Martin continues her statement, saying they have been together for 6 years, during which they had 4 children together. But Mr. Martin has refused to put a ring on her finger officially. As a result, she gave him a condition which he didn't acknowledge, so she had to date someone else. This other man in the picture, Mr. Stevens, could as well be Ramirez's father, but who knows?
Because I gave him an ultimatum. I was ready to get married. I feel like after 6 years, why are you not ready? That's because you exploring your options. Maybe you looking for something better. I don't know, but if that's the case, then let me go.
So you left?
Yes, and he begged me to come back, and now he wants to get married.
I asked you to come back because it's around Christmas time, and I ain't never spent the Christmas away from my
Whatever.
children.
He coulda
I ain't
had-
begged
he
you to do
coulda-
nothing.
The judge asks if she feels guilty for leaving her other kids and their father for 3 months to be with another man. Her response is no, because Mr. Blackman had been a liar and a cheater in the past. As a result, she was dealing with a lot of emotional trauma.
He did a lot. He cheated. He's not no saint. I didn't feel guilty because
no saint, but
I
we
was
got
faithful
past
to him.
that though. We were trying to build a life together that you
He
claimed.
thought that we got past it, but I was still dealing with a lot of hurt and pain. I wanted to make it work for my kids.
You see, Your Honor, she wanted to make it work for her kids.
However, Miss Martin claims she came back to him because she loved him and their kids. Mr. Blackman, on the other hand, doesn't believe her claims.
Why did you go back?
Because I loved him. I was not in love with him, but I loved him, and I thought we had a fighting chance.
So you went back at that point. Were you faithful to Mr. Black?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's shaking his head no.
Well, let's say I don't believe that.
That smirk you did after the statement, I was faithful, did not look truthful.
When the judge asks Miss Martin about Mr. Stevens' reaction to her being pregnant, she says he was happy for a while. However, he disappeared for about 6 months.
What was his reaction?
He was happy for a minute, and then he just disappeared. He completely disappeared. I didn't hear from him for another 4 or 5 months.
Happy for a minute, then disappeared?
Mm-hmm.
Jerome, I think it's time we meet Mr. Stevenson. Please escort him into the courtroom.
Thereafter, Mr. Stevens was invited into the courtroom, and he confirms that he was initially happy about the pregnancy, but disappeared afterwards. He says he had to get away from her because she always called him a deadbeat daddy and was unappreciative.
When Ms. Martin told you she was pregnant, what was your initial reaction?
First, I was happy, and then and I just disappeared.
She said that. That's exactly what she said. Why did you disappear?
She kept calling me a deadbeat daddy, this and that, that and that. I got tired of listening to
Because
her.
he wasn't there. That's what you was. He brought a used car seat to the hospital.
After she gave birth to Ramere, both men came to the hospital, but none of them signed the birth certificate, so she signed it and named him after Mr. Blackman, thinking he's his.
But he had to go back home to the kid. After I had the baby, Mr. Stevenson came. He was just like, oh, well, I want a DNA test, and he want the baby to have his name, but he didn't want to sign the birth certificate. But drilling me about a last name or a name, and I gave him Blackman. My baby name is Ramir Jeremiah Blackman.
The accuser brought Mr. Blackman's sister to court as a witness. She testified that she had been caring for Ramere since he was born because she believes her brother is his biological father.
My name is Gloria Blackman. I'm Mr. Blackman's sister.
Here as Miss Martin's witness.
He's so far wrong. That's a baby. As far as I'm concerned, neither one of them did anything. I did everything from the day the baby was born to right now.
The judge furiously dismisses the $3,100 child support request because the accuser is playing both sides when it suits her. Apparently, the defendant's sister did most things for the child from birth.
There's somebody here that needs to be filing suit. It's Miss Blackman. Your case is dismissed. And the worst part about it is the only people that have truly paid for these mistakes is Ramir and Miss Black.
Mr. Stevens, however, was prepared to care for Ramere, but Miss Martin never appreciated his efforts. Who is the baby's biological father? Only one way to find out.
Mr. Stevenson, you are his father.
Huh? I mean, I know you trying to be strong, you stop it.